Welcome to the Total Soccer Show's weekend review. The Premier League's big derby taught us nothing new. Water is wet and Manchester is blue. And Erling Haaland's performance might be the reason that City finally kickstart their season. As for United, well, they had problems at the back and also in midfield and in attack. For the Reds, the glimpses of magic are failing to appear. Aside from spending even more money, where do they go from here? In Serie A, the Derby d'Italia was a hell of a ride in a game that saw a Thuram brothers score for each side. The game had some bangers and Conan Yildiz must be admired, but the defending from both teams left a little to be desired. Elsewhere, Mbappe was on form for Madrid and Bayern Munich were anything but mid. Girona finally got in the mix and Barcelona hit Valencia 4-6. Yes, they did. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, Mr. Taylor Rockwell's here. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. A lovely introduction as always, even if it caused me to physically recoil in multiple points. Thank you for that.
Mainly the Manchester is blue.
Yeah, pretty
I'm
much.
guessing. Yeah.
Pretty much that part. Pretty much that.
And
There's
the
a little
fact
bit
you
of a
did it
like,
as well.
I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that at all.
Sorry.
But the Giorena reference made me happy.
It did, yeah. Went great for him, his game. Let's talk about that later, shall we? Graham Ruthven's here. Hello, Graham.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. How are you? How was your weekend? You, on the basis of our Patreon account, which listeners can subscribe to, subtle plug there, you had a fun time at the bank over the weekend?
Where
Did
can
you not?
they subscribe, Graham? Come on, do the full sentence.
Patreon.com/ I don't normally do this, / Total Soccer Show?
Yay,
Is that correct?
you did
Yes,
it.
nailed
Well
it.
done. There we
With
go.
the question mark. Always critical.
Yeah.
It's the I'm Ron Burgundy pronunciation that we prefer on the URL. Very good, Graham. Yes, I had a good weekend at Bank of America Stadium watching Inter Miami not do very much. It was the problem with a stick.
Do something.
Come
mean.
on. That was it for them. But a very good showing indeed. Charlotte FC doing rather well, I'm sure, on Tuesday's MLS show. Hello, Joe Lowery is going to talk all about it, right?
I am, and one of the things I'm going to talk about on tomorrow's show is that I sort of poo-pooed you shoehorning Charlotte into the weekend preview show that we did on Saturday, which I feel completely justified in doing, by the way. But you happen to be shoehorning them in for a really good reason, and I'm kind of coming around a little bit on what is happening in Charlotte right now with them as a real trophy contender. That is mostly due to Christian Kalina and how good he's been. So I'll leave it there. But I'm glad you got to go and watch a win, Ryan. I'm sad they didn't let you play guitar, at least not that I've heard about. And I do want to give you props because your summary of the Manchester Derby, really, really good. Like, that is a really good summary, and we will hope to add to it, but I don't think we're going to change the real thrust of that message.
Excellent. Well, maybe we'll expand upon it very shortly, Joe. Before we get there, patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. One more time for you there. Bonus episodes, including Weekend Review Extra, bonus video, and access to our Discord server. Among that bonus video, not just Ryan going to a soccer stadium, but Graham going to one as well with a 9-hour trip in the car.
I mean, they were both soccer stadiums, but that's about the only thing they had in common when you compare Borough Briggs in Elgin with Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. There was no LED screens and no Messis at Elgin this weekend. Maybe one day.
Still sounds very Lord of the Ringsy. I'm sure you got through a lot of Joe Rogan episodes on your drive there and back, Graham. All right, let's get to the Premier League action from this weekend. Manchester City 3, Manchester United 0. Sorry, Taylor. Earmuffs, another miserable day for Man United. Although, actually, in their defence, I'd say not all that bad, because I think the first half an hour, there was a lot of positives you could have drawn from Manchester United. I got to laugh at
And
that
that's
one.
what
Maybe.
you want. That's what you want in a derby. Is like, you did sort of okay for the first half hour, buddy.
And then Harry Maguire came on. And
Yeah.
so we had Phil Foden with the opener, obviously, then Haaland, and the Erling Haaland show kind of took over in this one. As I mentioned, Taylor, in the intro, maybe this is the catalyst that Man City need to get their season going. We can get to Man United, but maybe we want to sort of shine the light on the team that won first. They did rather well in this game.
Yes, they did. I will talk about both of them in my introductory thoughts because I was reminded of Joe. Where are you on Indiana Jones? Have you seen Raiders of the Lost Ark or
pro.
no? Okay.
Yep.
You know the sword fight scene where the guy waves the sword around and then Indy shoots him. So the supposed story is that's supposed to be a big long sword fight, and Harrison Ford was sick on the day, and so he just pulled the gun out, and it was not a big sword fight. This derby was like that if the sword fight guy dropped the sword, picked it up, stabbed himself while picking it up, fell over, and then Harrison Ford just kind of walked over sword fight guy. That was Man City to Manchester United, because I don't think this was Man United players downing tools. I don't think this was them being confused by the system. I think this was them just not being particularly good, and Manchester City really having their number and knowing exactly what they wanted to do, knowing exactly how they wanted to play. The word inflexible gets thrown around with Man United these days, and I think justifiably so, because they seemed pretty set in what they were trying to do, even if there was a lot of fluidity to their shape and movement. I think City were completely unbothered by it, set up really well to nullify everything Manchester United was trying to do, and then capitalized accordingly, and were deserved winners comprehensively at that. And I do think this is probably a statement game, especially when you get Gigi Donnarumma in between the sticks in his first game and make some big saves, and everybody just seems pretty happy to be playing together. Phil Foden looking good again, Erling Haaland looking good again. Plenty of reason for optimism if you are a City supporter.
Yeah, a much-needed win for City, because it's easy to say in hindsight that this was the expected result. But I wasn't fully sure what to expect, because City had been really vulnerable before the international break. We saw some of the old problems in that loss to Brighton. They lost at home to Spurs, of course, where they really didn't create all that much, and Spurs picked them off on the break. So I thought there was a chance, at least, while I did still predict a City win, I thought there was a chance that this tactical matchup might suit Manchester United, but this was more like the City team of a couple of seasons ago in the way that they were able to. The thing that was most striking was just how easy they found it to get in behind time and time again. And not just in behind, but in front of the back four, or the back five as it was a lot of the time, between the midfield and the defence. And my mind goes back to the quote from the Grimsby Town player a few weeks ago who said, we knew there was going to be space around their defence. He didn't say in behind, he said around, meaning in front as well and to the side. And Man City, with the players that they have and the way that they were set up, they were just built to brutally expose that. And yes, Manchester United had some, decent sequences in the game, but they are very good. This team is very good at looking competent in areas of the pitch that don't actually affect the scoreline or the game. And Man City were the complete opposite. They were so much better in the areas that mattered. It was Erling Haaland back to his best. There was a period in the second half where, I think it was between his two goals, where he was just steamrolling Manchester United in that period. Keep in mind, he misses that high percentage chance from close range, which somehow hits the post, and then there's another opportunity where he slots through Tierney Reinders, and that's at the point of the game when Man City are just running through the Manchester United midfield and defence. So it honestly could have been an even heavier defeat than 3-0 for Man United. Man City were much better when it mattered.
Graham, I love how you highlighted that it wasn't just City racing in behind, right? It was that later in the game, especially once the game state had changed enough that Man United had nothing else to do but to push numbers forward, which they were generally hesitant to do prior to going down multiple goals. It wasn't just City with Haaland and Reinders running in behind the back line, though it was. And that stuff matters, too. You're still playing a soccer game. Goal difference matters, wins, loss. I mean, all this stuff is still real important action. But it was how expertly City overloaded the midfield space in front of the back line for Manchester United and made life difficult and gave Manchester United difficult choices. Because ultimately, that's what you want to do when you have the ball, is you want to force defensive players to make difficult choices, and that is how you get them to have a moment of inaction or to step to the wrong player, and then you go and find space. I love that you brought up the Grimsby Town quote, because I had another one ready to go for this episode, which is Marco Silva with Fulham. Mark Carey had this in a piece of The Athletic, this quote from when Fulham had played Manchester United, and Silva said this after a 1-1 draw. Quote, we knew how they defend, and we know they like to squeeze from the back five. Then he adds later, if you don't give bodies for them to squeeze from the back five, you can create superiority in the middle. We know they play with two in the middle. We tried to overload that with our three, along with Alex Iwobi. It was as simple as that. And it kind of felt as simple as that for City in this game, where there were different moments where even Doku, who often is the one pinning opposing teams high and wide, especially on that left side, even Doku was drifting inside, and the fullbacks for Man City would be quite narrow at times. And you had Bernardo Silva at times drop in, and Phil Foden in that space, and Reinders and Rodri. And there were so many bodies in central areas that it seems so simple for Man City to carve through Manchester United. And maybe the best example of that, or the one that mattered the most, was Doku and his brilliant work to just get on the ball and dust Luke Shaw. I mean, he sends Luke Shaw into the shadow realm on that Phil Foden goal in the first goal. That is an unbelievable bit of skill.
Doku can outrun Luke Shaw?
I know.
Sure?
You wouldn't believe it.
That?
But that's Ryan, you put your finger on the problem.
Doku's mother, I think. Doku's mother, grandmother.
And Agent Rabiot's mother, and all the moms. But it was so simple for City to play through that shape. And for Manchester United, I'm not trying to say that in this case the 3-4-3 is the problem, right? I mean, teams all around the world play in 3-4-3s, right? This is not like a shape that doesn't work. If it didn't work in soccer, no one would use it. But instead, it was the challenge for Manchester United of how can they go and match those numbers in midfield? And the obvious way to do that is by moving your center backs forward to be an extra number in that space. And Manchester United tried to do that, but the timing never really seemed to work, and it all fell apart.
I mean that was meant to be Amram's mitigation for the imbalance that they had in central midfield, right? He wanted Fernandes to jump onto Rodri, and actually in the first 25 minutes of the game, Rodri was disrupted a good couple times by Fernandes doing that.
Yep.
But and Fernandes kind of explained this after the game. He was very candid about what his role was meant to be in this match. And I found that really interesting. He was then saying that Euro was then meant to move up onto Foden. But that for City, that was just so easy for them to counter, because when Foden moves deep, Euro isn't going to go with him into the opposition half, and then that then creates that huge amount of space in front of the defence where you can then push Jeremy Doku, who I thought was excellent in this game. Phil Foden as well looked back to his old self. So it's not the biggest problem that Manchester United have this system. It's certainly not helping them. Like if you as a coach and a manager are in place to find a framework that gets the best out of your players, like Amram's just clearly not doing that at the moment. And I don't know whether there was any framework that would help them in this match and get the better of City, but the gulf in the way that City were exploiting those weaknesses was pretty brutal in this match.
Well, that's what I was going to say, and I'll keep this tight, sorry. But I look at these teams, and we've talked about some of the tactical challenges that face Manchester United. I don't know what that difference is. I don't know what that different look is that Amram should go to in a game like this that's going to have a real impact and put them in this game for 90-plus minutes. No matter where you're having Doku or Foden or Silva or whoever it is match up with Luke Shaw or Lenny Yoro, they're the better player. Erling Haaland is the best player on the field in these kinds of games. There's just a very clear talent divide. And that's why, Ryan, the line that struck me most from your intro actually was, what can Manchester United do until they spend even more money, or unless they spend even more money? And that's what I come back to, because this squad is still just not good enough. And I know they're missing Cunha in this game, but City are missing pieces as well. There are gaps in both of these teams. But City's attack against Manchester United's defense, that is an overly simplistic way to look at this sport. But there were plenty of those individual matchups, and City do a good job of getting to those individual matchups. Those were always going to go City's way in this game, and that's exactly what happened.
Taylor, the only thing I'll say to that, because I agree with everything that Graham and Joe have said, I just think City do such a good job of, for lack of a better way of putting it, basically playing possum, being passive in the second half. And I think there's an awareness there from Pep that United aren't going to be able to change anything. They're going to stick with what they've been doing, and I think that is exactly what they did. But when City have the overload in the middle, as they did, and block off options through the middle, as they did, it basically means United have to kind of move the ball wide. And then I think City were content with those 1v1s because it's Ahmad sort of dribbling to nowhere and not really having much end product at all. And I think in those moments they are very happy for that to be a 1v1, because there's not really a fear that Manchester United in those moments on an individual basis are going to beat you. And so once that doesn't work, it just kind of feels like it's basically United get frustrated, they push numbers forward, and it kind of plays into exactly how City wanted to counter. And that's at the very least how the third goal happens, is just United being overexposed, overcommitted, and punished accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, the first few weeks of the season have really sort of crystallised things for me and Amram and this system. I really don't like this system at all for this group of players. I do think Amram is a big problem. Now, relative to expectation, I didn't expect Manchester United to be any higher than 8th this season. So we're not talking about a title winning team no matter who comes in. I'm not trying to suggest that. But I just don't know how, the way that they're set up just now, I don't know how they're going to create good chances against teams that are better than them. That's their biggest issue, because they don't rotate through the centre of the pitch. Their game is about playing quickly out to areas where they can overload, and so I think that's why Bruno Fernandes is in the centre, because Bruno's passing range is the best of anyone in the team. The only thing that's working for Manchester United right now is that connection from the middle out to Bryan Mbeumo, who again in this game was Manchester United's best attacking threat. He has that shot on the volley that Donnarumma tipped around the post, but there was a couple opportunities for him where he was able to get into space. But other than that, they're slow in possession, and then that means that the system relies on having a talent advantage, which even against poorer teams in the Premier League right now, Manchester United can't count on. So I just don't like the way that this team puts players in positions where it's them against an opponent, and for Manchester United right now, that is not enough. If I can simplify it down in a way.
You know who else didn't like that? Them versus an opponent was Harry Maguire being asked to make up ground on Erling Haaland. That was a rough one to watch for Manchester United fans. I know a couple people who were like, and that's it for me, turning that one off as he desperately tried to chase down Erling Haaland. Tried being the operative word there.
Well, that leads me to talk about Ruben Amorim a bit, Taylor. on the hour mark, it's Kobbie Mainoo and Harry Maguire who come on when United are 2-0 down and chasing. I'm looking at their bench and think maybe it's Xerxes who would be the one you bring on at that point.
Yeah, it's literally the only one.
But who else is
the
there,
point,
right?
Ryan? Like who else is there to bring on? Like Mainoo and Xerxes are the only two I'd say in any way would have an impact on the game. And even then, like you can't really count on it against Man City, so it's difficult.
Garnacho? Anthony? Jadon Sancho? Marcus Rashford? No? None of them? None of the bomb squad?
Rasmus Højlund, 14 minutes into his Napoli debut, scored.
More on him later.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
But Taylor, so Amorim has lost 16 of 31 Premier League games, more than half of the Premier League games.
He's got the worst. Sorry to jump in, Ryan. He's got the worst in that time frame. Man Utd are the worst team in the Premier League of teams who have been in the Premier League between those 2 seasons.
Yeah. So the 17 teams who've been up, he's 17th. Out of the
yes,
playing
but
against
worst record since Alex Ferguson had an equally poor record. So it's all going to turn around.
Well, that's my fundamental question, Taylor. Is it all going to turn around?
No.
This is a manager who afterwards says like, "You either change me, I ain't changing. You either change me, or that's the way we go forward."
I dislike that so much.
Like, yeah, he's not shown a lot of adaptability. He's a little bit stubborn, perhaps. Is he out of his depth, or is he onto something, Taylor?
On to getting sacked and a huge payout. Yeah, he's onto that. I mean, I think I've said this before. I will say it again. Speaking as a Manchester United supporter, I think one of the most frustrating aspects of all of this is just like I have no idea. Frankly, I was sure what they needed was after Ralf Rangnick's his recommendations, they needed a manager with a philosophy and a dedicated style of play, and I thought that's maybe what they were getting with Erik ten Hag. Obviously, that does not work. So then it's, okay, we're going to go with a guy who has his own very specific system, very specific approach, has a pedigree in Europe of success, so we're going to bring him into the Premier League, and that's going to work. And it doesn't. And at this point, it's like, I don't know. Graham has made many jokes about Gareth Southgate, improving the vibes, and he did that with England, so why not with Manchester United? And at this point, I'm like, I don't know, maybe that would work. I really do not know what the way forward is because there just seem to be so many different issues with this team. I don't think the midfield 2 is the way to go. I do think Bruno, for having the best passing range, also was just less comfortable on the ball deeper and being asked to kind of move the ball but not necessarily carry it forward, but also keep position, but also get back defensively. I think you're asking him to do a lot, right? And so he suddenly has become a player that a lot of people are frustrated by or with. I don't really go that far with it, but I do think the system isn't working, the approach isn't working. And there's something to be said for many other coaches coming in. I mean, we'll talk about it in Germany this weekend, coming in and getting big results by changing things up and being a little bit flexible in their approach. And the longer this goes, the worse this team looks, the harder it is to say, good for Amorim for clearing out the dead weight and the expensive weight and sticking to his guns and figuring it out. The figuring it out does not seem to have come, at least not yet.
Manchester United absolutely did need a manager with some kind of overarching ideology and plan of what they want to be. My gripe with Ruben Amorim, and look, I hate to keep coming back to the system, but it's a huge talking point at the moment. He seems to be wedded to the system, the formation, as a cornerstone of his ideology, which I just don't think is a great starting point for any manager at any level. And you look at someone like Xabi Alonso, who used a similar system to great effect at Leverkusen. He's gone into Real Madrid this season, has a completely different squad. It's not suited to that style, that formation, and so he's changed. They're playing a back 4. It's 4-2-3-1 a lot of the time. You look at someone like Pep Guardiola, opposite number in this game. He's given a debut to Donnarumma in this match, who is not a classic Pep Guardiola goalkeeper. Erling Haaland was signed 3 seasons ago, not a classic Pep Guardiola striker, but he changes, he adapts depending on what he sees in front of him, and I don't think Amorim does any of that. And so I think he's on a fast track to losing his job before the end of the year, which frankly, when you look at all the evidence and everything he's saying, I don't think he could complain about at all. Or maybe he would complain about it, but I think it'd be just.
My best explanation for things, there was a really good post on the Manchester United subreddit, the Red Devils Reddit, where they basically posted 10 different screen grabs from 10 different moments. And in each one, it's difficult to know exactly what the system is, what the shape is meant to be, what the formation is, because players are all over the place. Some of that is because of what City are doing. Some of that is because that is the system. It is about fluidity, even if it is very rigid in the application. I think it's meant to kind of set you up to have lots of different options and lots of different scenarios, and this player goes here, and then this player goes here, and we understand the rotations. And I assume that can work. It obviously worked for Sporting Club de Portugal. But I think it's one of those things where, like, once there's one little hole and you've got to plug that hole, another hole pops up and you start to lose belief in it. And once you don't have belief, I think you just stop improving and you start sinking. And that's what it feels like, is at this point, there's so much criticism of the approach. There's so much question of, is this approach working? Is he too rigid? That, like, I don't think it's even gotten off the ground yet the way he wants it to. I'm not sure it ever will. And I think the idea that he gets another season to figure it out is probably not the direction that this club should be heading.
It's an approach and a system where you basically need a lot of the best players in the world in the team. Like, you need 2 central midfielders. What do those 2 central midfielders need to do? Everything at all times. Get me 2 of the best in the world. Right, okay, now we need 2 wing backs. What are they meant to do? Everything. We need 2 of the best in the world. Right, centre forward needs to do all. Like, it just doesn't feel sustainable for a team that's in Man Utd's position right now.
The obvious point would be, it works in a league where you are one of the 3 dominant teams historically and forever. You're going to have a talent advantage. So, yeah, but I mean, I do think that's part of it, though. Like, the Premier League just isn't that anymore. There's 6, 7 teams that can spend as much and are better. Like, it just becomes that much harder to get the system in place when you can't have that like a technical superiority. So you've got to find superiority elsewhere, and instead, I think they're kind of sticking with what got them here in the first place.
Well, the superiority in Manchester obviously lies with Man City at the moment. I think we can obviously Arsenal is the next game up in the Premier League away as well. So that'll be the real big test, I think, of this the progress of this team so far. Hurtful. And Napoli is also in the Champions League, where they'll play a lot of players who are familiar with Manchester. Yeah, also,
all Mancunian rejects. I think they've been rebranded.
Hey, one of my favourite bands.
Do you think Ugarte looked at Foden, Reinders, Rodri in the midfield and was like, "Wait, what? You pass the ball to feet?" To each other? No. Tackle 5 seconds too late? Nodding. Yes, that I can do.
I mean, that was like with a few of the goals. Man United, you could see them thinking, you can run and pass and do all, that's not allowed. Like, the third goal in particular is just an absolute
Why don't you all constantly funnel all of your attacks to your left wing back who can't shoot? Why are we the only ones doing that? Is that not what we're supposed to be doing? Poor Dorgu.
Yeah. I think one of the differences in these teams for me also, we need to take a break, but the spine, right? You look at the spine of the Man City team. Donnarumma in the back, who had a great game. That save from Mbeumo, by the way, was incredible. Really, and it was, I think, a really important moment for him and the team as well. The way that, I think at least 4 of his teammates came and hugged and high-fived him after that. That felt like that could be a real defining moment for his City career, I think. But, Donnarumma at the back, obviously doing pretty well from this game. Then you got Diaz and maybe Gvardiol could count as a spine. Rodri and Haaland. That down the middle, that's a great spine. What's Man United's spine at the moment?
Like this.
Wonky.
It's not great. Anyway, let's, on that note, take a quick break. When we come back, plenty more weekend to review, including an action-packed Derby d'Italia. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the weekend review. Elsewhere in the Premier League, we had Arsenal with a 3-0 win over Forest in Big Ange's Forest debut. Mendy with an outrageous volley for the opener that hit some people, but still was very outrageous. That was a fun one. Ange Postecoglou on the UK broadcast was interviewed. I think it was before the game. When I took the job, everyone told me I had to win a trophy. He's talking about Spurs. They didn't tell me I'd get sacked at the end of it. That was part of this tight fight
sacked
on the broadcast. Yeah,
sacked at the end of it.
I don't like this anymore.
I don't know what that.
All right, let's move on. Tottenham with a big 3-0 win in the London Derby over West Ham. Xavi Simons making his debut there. Pretty comfortable win for Spurs. Thomas Souček not helping the situation at West Ham with his red card. Potter gonna Potter so far at West Ham. Tough one for Burnley as well. A 1-0 defeat at home at the hands of Liverpool. It was 95th minute that Mo Salah put that penalty away. Absolute heartbreaker for Burnley there. Right. Also, a bit of a harsh red card too.
Was it? Okay.
No?
I was going to say, though, the handball, the jumping in, turning, elbow handball. You know who conceded that one?
Hannibal.
Ex-Man United player. They don't all get better when they leave. Hey!
Graham, that was actually really good.
Nice. Well done. Also, British record signing Alexander Isak not in the squad for Liverpool. Big purchase like that didn't arrive fit. Well, he'll be fit soon anyway, Liverpool fans.
Well, his fingers are fit from typing on Instagram, right? I mean, statements
so much
and
protesting.
Back and forth. Yeah.
I know.
His vocal cords are warmed up.
Yeah. He doth protest too much, he doth train not enough, is what Shakespeare said back in the day, I believe. That was a bit of a truncated look at the Premier League. If you want more Premier League, from this weekend. Weekend Review Extra, patreon.com/Total Soccer Show, because we've got to move on to Italy and the Derby d'Italia. Juventus 4 Inter 3. Goodness me, a brilliant game. If I was going to sum this one up, Graham, it's all about Turks, brothers, and an Englishman. There's a joke in there somewhere. Haven't got it yet.
There is, yeah. I don't know what that joke is either, but that sounds like the start of one. Yeah, there's just something about this fixture at the moment because we had the 4-4 game last season between these two teams. Now we've got this one. And the thing is, that it's a bit of an outlier because there has been, I was looking through some of the numbers, like the historical, because you put me on the spot, Ryan, last week I went and looked at some of the historical meetups between these two teams. So there's been under 2.5 goals in Juve's last eight league games, going back to last season. And 12 of the last 14 Derby d'Italia games had also been under 2.5 goals. So I didn't expect this. I thought last season was going to be a one-off, but I am glad we got this level of chaos. I'm always grateful for chaos.
I think I put you on the spot, Graham, because in my mind, this game would be low scoring, but then I forgot that we've basically had 2 consecutive bangers now.
Yeah, now we have. Yeah, I would have agreed with you. Last season's felt like a bit of an outlier, but yeah, grateful for chaos. Also grateful for bangers, and there was a good number of them in this game. I don't know whether the number of chances or the XG necessarily matched the number of goals we actually got in this game. The second Çalhanoğlu goal in particular was an absolute belter. The way he takes it on his chest and then heads away from goal and sends it back across into the opposite corner. It's one of the best goals of the season so far, and this was one of the best games of the season so far.
Yeah, I counted 4 bangers across the board here. Çalhanoğlu has 2 of them, the Yildiz one, and then the Adzic one as well. I mean, it's an absurd game. The stat that I had coming into this match was that overall, coming out of this match, excuse me. Actually, let's do a game. Have any of you guys looked at the XG, or can we do this
I
game?
just did. It's why.
Okay, Taylor's out.
Can I?
Okay, Ryan.
Did Inter have maybe 4 shots tops, and they scored 3?
No, Inter had way more than that. They had 18 shots.
Fine.
But
the XG
Ryan, I want you to guess the XG, the total, the combined XG from this game in which there were 7 goals scored. Go ahead.
1.
That's really close. 1.6.
That's close.
Ruined the game, but that was good. I'm happy that you still played it. I mean, this game was defined by weird, wonky moments, right? I mean, that was the story of this game. That's why it was so much fun. Yes, there were some fun tactical themes as well, but Juventus in particular caught my eye on this game for their defensive work. But they don't get to show off their defensive work and be so reserved in this match on that side of the ball unless they go and score multiple really insane, great goals. I mean, the Yildiz goal is from way downtown. He's the one who sees that Çalhanoğlu scored a banger and says, anything you can do, I can try to do better. And then eventually they're able to be so conservative, Juventus, in this game, which we know relative to Inter, even a Christian Kivu Inter team is likely to be Juventus' approach in this game. But the thing with Juve that caught my eye in between all of the moments of madness in this game, and that was caused partially by those things, was how they kind of stymied some of Inter Milan's attacking play. Like, I look at these teams, I'm much more scared of Inter than I am of Juventus. Maybe I'm the only one who would go with that, but I think Inter still are an incredibly talented roster, even if they are an aging roster. I look at this squad with Martinez and Thuram up top and with the midfield that we know and love, and I'm afraid of this team. And Juventus were conservative, and I think in a logical way in this match. But more than that, they were really man-oriented in this game, where they were tracking Inter's midfielders all around the field, and they were tracking Thuram or Martinez as he would drop into midfield. And the result of that was that they made it really difficult for Inter to play into the exact areas that they want to play through. Like, the heart of this Inter team is their midfield trio. That's it. Like, that's been it, and that will continue to be it this season. That is when they're at their best, is when they can play through Çalhanoğlu, dropping deeper, or Barella. That's when you get Inter in their purest form. And Juve, by providing that man-to-man pressure in certain parts of the field, made it really difficult for Inter to play into those spaces. And I thought that served Juve really, really well in this game, where you go through and we just did the whole XG thing. Yeah, Juve didn't create a whole lot, but Inter created very, very little in this game outside of the bangers that they scored. I thought Juventus' defensive approach deserves a ton of credit in this game, the execution of it as well.
Yeah, definitely so. Just to sum up some of the goals here, we saw Bristol England's Lloyd Kelly, who we're definitely all very familiar with before this game, with the opener.
Just to spite Taylor, he scored that. It's a very nice finish as well.
It was good.
Other way around, man. I think I hyped him up. I was like, let's talk about this guy. How'd he get there? What's he doing?
Yeah,
he
I believe
had
certain co-hosts were unimpressed by him. That's all I'm saying.
It was a nice finisher. You're right, the turn of the body getting into the corner there. Very impressive indeed. Kefren Thuram with the goal too. Both Thurams indeed scoring in this one. I don't know if you guys saw the screen grab from the ref cam of both Thuram sort of looking at the ref, that was amazing. And
then with that, Ryan, sorry. I also enjoyed when Kevin scored, it cut to Marcus Thuram being like, yeah, okay. Like it was just a little like I'm glad for my brother. I'm annoyed that he scored, but I'm glad for my brother. I enjoyed the constant familial shots, including with Lillian in the stands. Behatted Lillian in the stands seemed to be applauding more when Juve scored than Inter. Is all I'm saying.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, he's been quite open with that, right? Like he's a Juve icon. Yeah, but not quite that. But like he has sort of, I think, digged Marcus in the ribs a little bit about joining Inter. I think he's very much a Juve fan.
At the risk of being controversial, Jan Sommer, could he have done better with some of those goals?
Limp wrists.
Maybe it's certainly the 4-3, the Adjic run. Maybe
that would be the one, right? If you're going to look at any of them, I think that has to be the one. It's hit hard. He does get both hands to it, and it really does make me think. Ryan, I don't have a good answer to this because goalkeeping is a different sport, and it's really, really hard. But the thought crossed my mind. I'll say that much. It was not a Ray Hudson sound emitting level goalkeeping performance from Jan Sommer. We'll put it that way.
Nothing else.
I think it's one of those things where because of the way it's hit by Odzic, there's no run up. It's like 2 steps, bang from like 35 yards out thereabouts. I think from the reverse angle, you can see Sommer's feet aren't set. That they're like in midair. He's getting them set to then move back across. But because they're in the air, he's just that much slower to react to it. And I mean, it's a screamer. But yeah, he probably, if he has those feet set, if he's a little bit more ready, I think he probably does better with it. And that was kind of a recurring theme in this game multiple times, including for the opener and for the Marcus Thuram header. There are moments when defenders are just sort of like bouncing up and down, waiting for something to happen, and then the kick is taken while they are in midair, bouncing up and down, and it makes them slightly slow to react. Definitely the Thuram header. I think it's Kalulu is in midair, just jumping up and down for no reason as that ball is played in, which is why he cannot make a play on the ball. Some strange defending in this one, and I would extend that to Juve. To be honest, I agree with a lot of what Joe said. I felt like there were moments in this game where they sat way too deep and. Yes,
they're too deep for the equalizer.
Yeah.
Like it was like
Which
they got
equalizer?
the first equalizer. The
they go 1-1, 2-2, 3-3.
Where they got after they scored the equalizer, they go. I still agree with Joe. I think defensively their setup was good, and I feel much clearer about what Tudor ball is for Juve than what Motta ball was last season. But they just got too deep. So by the time that ball is set back to Çalhanoğlu, they've got the back line is weight. They've got too much distance to jump up and put pressure. So
they had 9 outfield players in their own box with Vlahovic, like up at midfield, and I think Inter had 4 players in the box by comparison. So it's not as though they were like man marking in that box. It was basically they all dropped too deep. Çalhanoğlu hits that one. He has 2 more very good chances from distance in the first half, and. I say that not even to disagree with anything that's been said, but just to point out that then when it goes to 3-2, courtesy, is it Thuram that puts them up 3-2, Inter? Yes, it is.
Yes,
Çalhanoğlu has the brace, and then it's Thuram. It felt for all the world like, okay, like they've lost this game, Juve. They've sat too deep, they've set off, they've given control to Inter. Inter made changes, Juve have not, and this is how it's going to play out. I thought for sure it was finishing 3-3 at best. But Tudor, to his credit, makes a lot of changes, and that includes moving Weston McKennie from left wing back to center mid for about 10 minutes, and then he comes off. But Odzic comes on, Openda comes on. I think it's Openda who draws the free kick that leads to the equalizer before they go ahead. And it just felt like he made smart adjustments. Tudor, he brought on good personnel, but then he made the team better and more functional to be able to chase the result and ultimately get it. So I think I agree with Joe in the end. I think Inter are the scarier team on paper, and they're the team that I would be more nervous to play were an I opponent. And so with that in mind, Juve getting the win and Igor Tudor making adjustments to get that win has to inspire some confidence.
And those options that Tudor has to bring off the bench is a big difference from last season, where they don't have those options. They don't have Openda, they don't have Jonathan David. And I said on Saturday's episode that Juve didn't really rebuild in the way that they wanted over the summer, and I stand by that. They didn't do as much business as I think everyone was anticipating. But they have built out the area that they were worst in last season, and so you would expect there to be some kind of uptick. Just very quickly on Inter, it's been a concerning start to the season for them. This is their worst start to a league season for 14 years. And I have to say, I'm not totally sure what I attribute that to, because had it not been for that Adzic stoppage time winner, which, by the way, we'll never know this, but he takes that shot because other bangers have been scored in that game, right? He doesn't, he's just seen what other players have done and he's thought, well, I'll have a go at it myself.
I think he was screaming, Tudor ball! As he did it.
Yeah, I think so. That's what they all shout when.
Which is what Henry VIII used to shout when he had a big royal banquet. Go on.
Oh, right.
I mean,
okay.
Unless, is there a chance that that is a thing, that is a Jan Sommer weakness, and we just don't know it? Like similar to De Gea early on when he could not
just
handle shots from
absolutely
distance.
whacking a shot from 50 yards out and putting it in a pretty good spot on frame.
Well, I just think of the Ray Hudson point you made, Joe. Like that is Jan Sommer who makes that save, right? That leads to the Ray Hudson's squeak. And I wonder, reaction saves, up close saves, is he really good? But from distance, does he have trouble getting his feet set, getting across? Getting strong wrists. Grant very critical of wrists this weekend. I just wonder maybe that is something that was identified.
Because I have the weakest wrists in the world. I've broken this one 3 times, so it's something that I keep an eye on.
Oh, I've got to bite my tongue. Sorry, go on.
But you are right, Joe. There's an element there of the Happy Gilmore when he makes the hole-in-one, and it's just maybe should I just do that every time? I should just aim for the hole every single time. It's just put it in the top bins from 40 yards out.
That'll do it.
With a lightning strike. Just every time. No big deal. What's so hard about
that? But just on Inter, I am confused by them because I think in this game the lack of organisation at the back was a bit of a concern. But the most striking thing was when Juve were coming forward, they had much more zip than Inter in terms of their attacking play and attacking open space. I think of Inter at their best under Inzaghi. I think of that Bayern Munich away game in the Champions League last season, where there was one goal in particular. Taylor, you know the one I'm talking about, the back heel, the Martinez one that Thuram. Yeah. Oh no, it's the Thuram with the back heel and then Martinez finishes it. Yeah. And they go from one end of the pitch to the other in 9 seconds or something like that. That was the Inter thing. And here it just felt like they were just a little bit slow. The touch was a little bit off. And I don't know whether that's just early season, teething problems under a new manager or maybe a bit of lethargy after the Club World Cup. I don't know. Yeah. It is also in my mind that this team is another season older and they were already pretty old. They were one of the oldest teams in the Champions League last season. So is this them getting to the cliff edge now? Did they need to do more in the summer? But it's something I'm keeping an eye on because they've not been great in the first 3 or 4 games of the season.
Age was the thing I was going to point to, Graham. There is going to be a point at which this drop-off happens. We've seen Sucic in midfield at times this season for Inter. They're trying to bring through this next group of players. But the average age of the two starting 11s, Juve, 26.3 years on average, Inter, 30.9. Inter are an old team. They were an old team last year. They are, newsflash, even older this year. That is a legit concern.
Here we go. Real quick before we leave this game, Taylor, Weston McKennie. We got 80 minutes of Weston McKennie in this one.
I was right. I was right. I was the only one I think who took the over on Saturday.
Oh, you did? Yeah, well done, actually.
Congrats. Thanks, guys.
Did you define the position he'd be in?
Nope, wasn't asked. I would have guessed anywhere but central midfield, so I would have been right about that too.
So he was kind of wide and central and other places?
Not very central.
No, he's pretty much wide. He was definitely left back defensively, left wing back defensively, but then very far forward, when they had the ball in possession, the few times that they did. I thought he did a few things that were interesting. The first was he seemed to be very mindful of where Yildiz was at any given moment and always made sure to adjust his positioning so they were never on the same vertical plane, which is kind of critical. And so it seemed like that was his job, was to kind of adjust where he was in relation to other players around him, which to me is a little bit of a we can trust you to do this kind of mental work and keep track of things as we need you to, even if you're not going to be the star creator. And I thought he did a good job with that. I also enjoyed a moment in the second half, I think, when he is called for a push in the back or a handball. I'm not sure which one it was, but he stops to complain to the ref. And you could see Yildiz walk up, very aggressively say something. You can only see the back of Yildiz, but you can see kind of the bark of the head. And McKennie turns and looks at him, and then you just see Yildiz go. And McKennie just stops complaining and immediately sprints backwards. So there is a level there of listening to his teammates, following instructions, not getting his head turned, and also seems a little bit slimmer than we've seen him look. So it feels like maybe his fitness has improved. That could be that, or maybe just he just cut his ranch from 1 gallon a day to a half gallon a day, and it's made all the
maybe
difference.
Maybe have one of coffees. We know what it does to him.
I think from an athletic standpoint, I thought he looked good. From a Mauricio Pochettino, have a good first touch and control the ball in the middle standpoint, I'm not sure we saw a ton of that from him, though he did get those 5 to 10 minutes in the middle at one point in the game.
There we go. Very entertaining derby d'Italia. Probably fair to say two teams are figuring things out at the moment, certainly defensively, but very entertaining all the same. Quick look at Napoli's 3-1 win over Fiorentina as well. Pretty easy win for Napoli this was. De Bruyne and Rasmus Højlund, the aforementioned, on the score sheet. A win made in Manchester. Laviola's consolation goal, by the way, the first goal that Napoli have conceded this season. One more Serie A result I'd quickly like to spotlight. Milan's 1-0 home win over Bologna. Luka Modric, 40 years old. 40 years young, the difference maker was Luka Modric. We saw Christian Pulisic in the second half of this one. And if you will have your Milan bingo card out, we got a Max Allegri red card in this one as well. He loves occasionally going completely insane on the sideline, and I'm here for it.
What was the deal with the disallowed penalty that led to him getting the red card?
It was... I don't know, but it was very funny for Max Allegri to lose it again.
As long as you're happy, I'm happy, Ryan.
More on that on Weekend Review Extra. Join us then. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, Spain and Germany. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to our Weekend Review. Barcelona 6, Valencia 0. Played in front of just under 6,000 people, Graham. The stadium, the Camp Nou, the new Camp Nou, is not quite ready yet.
No.
No.
Sorry. Who could have seen it coming?
Who could have seen it coming? It was supposed to be ready in November 2024 to coincide with the club's 125th anniversary. They couldn't use the Olympic Stadium as they have been for a while because Post Malone was busy using it doing songs. So,
if that's what they call them.
Wow.
I'm annoyed that you beat... I was trying to construct the joke, Graham. I'm annoyed that you beat me to it. Well done.
Unexpected Post Malone hate. Didn't have that on my bingo card.
Barcelona had some help this weekend with their 6-0 win. Braces for Fermin Lopez, Rafinha and Robert Lewandowski. Marcus Rashford, Graham, with an assist as well.
Yeah, and this was a real triumph for the depth options that Barcelona now have because Lamine Yamal was missing from the lineup for this game. Amazingly, Barca had never won a league game without Yamal since he'd broken through into the team. Yep, when he'd been missing, they had never won a game. So very reliant on him, and that was a big part of in the summer. They tried to build out some of their attacking options, of which Marcus Rashford is one. The story with Yamal, by the way, so Barcelona are really unhappy. So they said he went away to the Spain camp. They had games against Bulgaria and Turkey with a minor injury, and then gave him painkillers, which for an 18-year-old to play 2 games, start of a World Cup qualification campaign, did Spain really need to do that? So Flick and Barcelona are really unhappy about that. He was unfit to play this game as a result. So it was Rooney Bargi who started on the right side, one of those depth options who came in the summer. A really interesting signing, a player who, I mentioned this in the show a few weeks ago, but just to recap, a player who sort of broke through as this wonder kid at FC Copenhagen, scored a great goal against Manchester United in the Champions League, and then kind of stalled. Like, didn't really do much for a couple seasons, and basically Barcelona have taken a punt on him. He was a cheap signing. They brought him in as a depth option. I thought he was relatively decent in this game. Marcus Rashford started on the left to rest Rafinha, who returned late from Brazil duty. He came on late in this game, made a real impact. And Barcelona really grew into the game. They went better. They got better as it went on. I thought Pedri was incredible in every single way in central midfield, as he tends to be. He was the one kind of pulling the strings, but he was having a goal threat as well. And then Fermin Lopez was a real danger in that kind of like mobile number 10 role that he plays a lot of the time. I think a lot of people sleep on just how good he is. And then Ferran Torres, speaking of someone people sleep on a little bit, he's really grown a lot in the last 12 months. He's getting better and better as more of a facilitator. I've always thought his penalty box presence, for someone so kind of slight and not the most physical, has always been pretty decent, even going back to his Man City days. But we saw for the first goal, this great little half touch, as they call it in Spain, to Fermin Lopez, who then gets into the box and smashes it across goal into the far corner. So there was a good few moments like that from Ferran Torres. So even he is a good depth option for Barcelona to have. And then they brought on the 2 big hitters in the second half, Lewandowski and Rafinha, and they just ratcheted it up to another level. So, yeah, lots to be positive about for Barcelona. Another thing that was a real positive was Marc Bernal coming off the bench. That was his first game in over a year. And Barcelona, they see this kid as like their next Sergio Busquets. He was meant to play a big role last season, then got a serious injury, and I think the first game of the league season last year, didn't play at all. They used Marc Casado in that role, who was decent enough, but I think the opinion at Barcelona is that Bernal is a level above. So I am excited to see how another La Masia superstar slots into this Barcelona side.
See, Man United, when you're incompetent at business and running your team, just get more kids to come through who are really good. That's what Barcelona are doing. It's the secret. It's the secret.
But not Marcus Rashford. Not him. Never him.
Apparently not.
Or anyone else. Or Garnacho. Or Menu.
Elsewhere in
Can I say that Fermin Lopez and Ferran Torres are my version of Dylan McDermott, Dermot Mulroney? Like, Ferran Torres could be like, my name is Ferran Torres, and I would look at him and think, are you Fermin Lopez? I'm not sure which one you are. I don't know if I fully believe you.
Interesting.
Every single time. I get confused by it. My pleasure. But when Graham said they're both slept on, I was like, yeah, because they're the same person.
Fair enough. Both Madrid teams got big wins. Wins anyway. 2-1 win for Real Madrid at Real Sociedad. Kylian Mbappe bossing it in that one. Dean Huijsen getting sent off too. And Atleti with a 2-0 win over Villarreal. First win of the campaign for them. We'll have much more info on that on Weekend Review Extra. Taylor, can we touch on Germany? Perhaps we can start with Bayern's 5-0 win over Hamburg, newly promoted Hamburg, back after 7 seasons away, getting absolutely tanked by Harry Kane.
Yeah, they wish they weren't. I got to say, the Bundesliga rules, man. I hadn't watched as much of it until this point, but it is wonderful. Bayern Munich continues to look like they're playing on rookie setting. 3 wins from 3 games, 14 goals for, 2 against. It is Spain in World Cup qualifying numbers for Bayern Munich. Harry Kane's brace in this one takes him top of the Golden Boot race, 5 goals so far this season. Dortmund remained in second. They get a 2-0 win over Heidenheim. Leverkusen and Frankfurt. Let's talk about this one, shall we? So it's Kasper Hillman's first game in charge. What a debut it is. A 3-1 win over Frankfurt. Alex Tella fouled on the dribble. Alex Grimaldo bends in a beauty of a free kick to vent some frustration. Everybody very happy about that one. Later on, Alex Tella fouled in the box. A lot of kicks towards Alex Tella. Leverkusen get the penalty. Patrick Schick converts. They're up 2-0. Everything's great. We're all very happy. But then Frankfurt score 1. Then Robert Andrich is sent off. Then Eki Fernandez is sent off. And Leverkusen have 9 men. They're only 1 goal ahead. Suddenly it feels like maybe they are cursed this season. But no, Lucas Vazquez this time, still only 22, but also I think over 30 at this point, draws a free kick. Grimaldo finishes that one as well. A double free kick performance from Alex Grimaldo. And Leverkusen get the win and a little bit of a therapeutic result at that. Another really fun game, Wolfsburg 3, FC Köln 3. Wolfsburg celebrating their 80th anniversary. Christian Eriksen on the bench. I forgot he was there. In the 104th minute, Jakub Kaminski, who is on loan from Wolfsburg. They don't have those loan rules, I guess, in the Bundesliga, and Wolfsburg are frustrated for it. Gets the latest goal in Bundesliga history to secure a point on the road for Köln. 7 points from their first 3 Bundesliga games for them. That is them third in the table, Köln. Certainly their best start to the Premier League in quite some time. Wolfsburg's second draw of the season. They're in 8th right now, but it could be worse. They could be Borussia Mönchengladbach. De Fohlen destroyed at home, losing 4-0. It could have been worse. They received a lot of angry noise from their supporters at full time. They are in the relegation zone. Manager in the hot seat. Fans very angry. Players interviewed after the game were sort of just like, yeah, they should be mad. That was pretty bad. It's not really what you want from your captain saying that one. But one bright spot I definitely want to mention. Go ahead and reset that counter, Discord, because it will soon be 0 days since the last time we discussed Gio Reyna, because he looked very good in this game in a number of different ways. He gets the start, genuinely looked happy to be there and looked to be their only bright spot in this performance. He was like the connective tissue for their attack. He was driving at defenses in 1v1s, but just creating a lot of uncertainty on the ball. He conceded free kick responsibility until the second half, where he is fouled pretty bad about 20 yards from goal, and he just takes the ball and keeps it. I think he hits it into the wall for a corner. But aside from that, he's applauding teammates. He's applauding attempts at passes. He's trying to pick the team back up. When they do the team lineups, they have to, I guess, smile and wave at the camera. And then I think they were told they could stop, and the whole team stopped and then realized they weren't supposed to have stopped yet. And everybody just sort of stood there awkwardly. But our boy Gio, right back to big smile and waving again. I think he just seems like he has gotten the memo that there is concern about his fitness, but also concern about his wrist strength, certainly, but then also just concern about his disposition and personality. And I think it is a fresh start for him in a place where he feels some level of comfort because of the familiarity with the league. And I think it's just a perfect place for him. It seems like Gladbach are very happy he's there. Again, the lone bright spot in this one. And so I think U.S. fans should be pretty optimistic because it was him looking basically at his best in this game, even if it was a 4-0 loss.
He should join a better team.
Yeah.
Maybe he will once they're relegated.
With all due respect, Taylor, the praising of Reyna in a 4-0 defeat, it does have the energy of that meme of the guy celebrating when he's third on the podium.
Yeah. I mean,
that's wrist
it was 2-0 when he subbed off, I believe. So, like, there's that. But
got twice as bad. Yeah.
Maybe it might have been worse, actually. But no, I mean, I think he's just not at fault, and he was still trying stuff and looking like a promising figure when most of their players were, like, dribbling straight into an opponent and losing the ball and then conceding a goal. One last tiny little thing I wanted to mention from the Bundesliga. Hoffenheim continued their very bright start to the season. They got a 4-2 win over Union Berlin. There's a gentleman by the name of Bitsumana Toure. Graham, are you familiar? Batsumana Toure? 19-year-old Ivorian winger. He is unbelievably fast. I want to spotlight him because if anybody is thinking about checking out a Bundesliga game, he is so fast that he is that type of fast that, like, I'm going to watch Hoffenheim again in hopes that he just gets on the ball. He has an Mbappe moment where he basically kicks the ball with his first touch like 30 yards ahead of him. There are 2 defenders now between him and the ball. He outruns them both to get on the other end of that pass to himself and ends up creating a very good goal-scoring opportunity. He is just wheels on wheels and very much worth watching because he is very young, but very fast, and makes Hoffenheim, currently in 6th, even more fun to watch.
Yeah, Torre played for Mimosas, a team named Mimosas, at some point in his career, so there's another reason to go and watch him play.
He went there from brunch, I think. Brunch.
Yeah,
I played for Team Mimosas one night, regretted it the next morning.
Well, Mimosa, I think this club was formed when there was FC Orange and an FC Champagne, and then they merged, right? I think.
So it's Mimosas United. I got you.
Right.
Nice. There we go. Great hive mind stuff there.
Nerds.
And that is our Weekend Review. Thank you very much, listeners, for joining us on this journey. Once again, Weekend Review Extra is hitting our bonus feed. You can find that at patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. Plenty more weekend to be had over there. But for now, Taylor Rockwell, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed, my friend.
Thank you, Joe Lowery.
Hey, thanks, Ryan.
And thank you very much, Graham Ruthven.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
And thank you, the mostest listener. We appreciate you. We'll be back on the feed very shortly. MLS show coming to your feed on Tuesday. But for now, bye.